I really thought I was making great time this year. I thought I was on a great pace. I felt like I'd accomplished a bunch of the gift knits that I'd set out to do. And then today, as I'm rushing around trying to make this video of everything I knit for Christmas 2023, I realized that this is my Christmas finished objects. And this is my unfinished Christmas whips. Same old me. Hello, I'm Bailey. I'm the Copycat Stitch here on YouTube and on Instagram. And I knit a lot, I crochet a little, and I pretend that I sew. I have a whole bunch of stuff that I have set out to make for the Christmas holiday. I mostly gift to the same handful of friends and family every year. And I really thought I'd pared down last year. I won't use the word catastrophe, but I really didn't accomplish as much as I wanted to. I still never finished the sweater I set out to make for my husband last Christmas. It's in a trunk in my dining room, making no noise and pretending it doesn't exist. I did some stuff this year. Okay, this is gonna be a little chaotic. I don't have all the information about the patterns and the yarns. We're gonna see what I remember. It's gonna be a little guessing game to see how much of this I can actually remember. And then whatever information I don't have will magically appear here when I do all the work later to look up what I couldn't remember today. Here's the tiny basket of things that I've actually finished already. And let's talk through them because I don't remember much. So first of all, this is a really cute cable knit hat. I'm sure this was a free pattern because beanies are something that I never pay for a pattern for because there are so many free patterns out there. I know that I held a mohair with a wool, and this has obviously not been blocked. It's very narrow and the cables are really scrunched in on themselves. It does fit an adult head. I believe I will be giving this to my sister. This set is for a friend who is effectively family now. This, I remember the pattern. It's called Free Breakfast. It was a free pattern, and it's this really cute waffle stitch texture, which is probably why it's called Free Breakfast. I don't know, but it's got really excellent squishy fold over brim. I love how this came out. This was on a Knit Crate, RIP, yarn that I had sitting around. I had 2 skeins in stash, and based on the estimates in the pattern, I thought I would need to dip into the second one, but I didn't. So what I ended up doing was making a matching pair of fingerless mitts. They look really small, but they're ribbed and waffle texture all the way around. So it's not that bad. They're very stretchy. I just found a free pattern online for simple stockinette mitts, and then I adapted it a little to have the same stitch pattern as the hat because I thought they would make a really cute set. And you know what? I love how they came out, and I'm pleased with these. None of this has been blocked. 0. So these 2 are for my in-laws. At Rhinebeck this year, I was at the booth for, it's really cute. She bases half of her booth colorways on shelter cats and dogs, and then a portion of the proceeds of these skeins go to the shelter. Since my in-laws are cat people and they're from Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh sports are very generous and share all of their colors. So I thought it would be cute. So first of all, this is a cat who is apparently named Lucy. I didn't notice the names were on the back. That's cute. So this hat, it's made of it's either bulky or super bulky. It went really quick. Again, I don't remember the pattern, but I made 2 identical hats, and I'm planning on attaching the picture of the cat to it when I wrap it. Is this cat named Sansa. Very sweet. This is one of those things that the 2 skeins looked so similar when I bought them that I thought that they were almost gonna match. And then once I actually knit it up, they're so different. There's so much more black in this one, which is way more Pittsburgh in the end, but this one's really pretty too. I love those. I'm proud of these. I think they came out really nice. This is one that I knit for my husband. Whew. This was a doozy. I thought I might remember what the pattern was called, but it's escaping me now. This is a fingering weight, and I bought the yarn at Indie Untangled, and it's just a gray, I think Sea Change Fibers Is that the name of the dyer? It's just a very pretty gray with a bunch of black tweed flecks. And the colorway immediately made me think of my husband. So I bought it and I knit him this while I was at a work training. Definitely needs to be blocked, not just because it's floppy, but because I actually had an issue. This yarn is not completely dye fast. It's not like rubbing off on everything I touch, but after I worked with it for a while, it was like my fingers were a little darkened. Definitely need to block that one separately by itself after everybody else is out of the blocking water to try to set the dye and fix the shape because it is a little wibbly. I'm gonna have one more hat. I remember that the yarn here was just some mill ends from a farm, an alpaca farm that I stopped at earlier this year when I was doing my Fiber Trail series. So this is just a 1x1 rib hat. If I remember, I didn't even really use a pattern. I kind of used one to guesstimate how many stitches. And then I just altered it and kind of copied other patterns because there's like a million patterns that are free for 1x1 ribbed hats. And this one's just an agglomeration of several of them. But it's super squishy. Because it's mill ends, there are some thick and thin bits. It's a little rustic and woolly, and I think it's really pretty. And like, I don't know, it's like a Carhartt color. It's like a man color, right? So hopefully this will go over well with the recipient. All right, that's everything I finished. It's a pile of hats. I had really hoped to do more by now, and I still have hopes to do more, but we'll see how this pile goes. So the one big whip that I have that you've probably heard about 100 times if you've ever watched my channel for 2 minutes is the temperature blanket. I decided to make a temperature blanket for my sister and her new husband. They have been married just over a year, and I decided before they even got married that I was gonna do this. They're minimalist people, they love neutrals, they don't love chromatic colors. So I chose a palette that is all neutrals, and below zero is grays, and they go down to a saturated navy color. Maybe saturated isn't the word, it's just like a dark navy. And then above freezing, warm colors starts with like a cream and goes through taupe and tan and works all the way up to this like autumn leaf red that is really pretty. So I'm very proud of this, but this is so much work and I'm not doing great. As I'm recording this, it is December 8th. While I don't have to have this one actually finished until Christmas Day, I kind of have to finish crocheting it by 6 days from now. It's Tunisian crochet, and the idea was to start with their wedding day. I did 5 rows in the honeycomb stitch for their wedding day, and then I went right into Tunisian full stitch. There's a purl bump row for the last day of the month. Then the whole next month is Tunisian knit stitch, purl bump row for the last day of the month. The whole month is Tunisian simple stitch, purl bump row, and then we go back into full stitch. So every month has a different texture than the last month, which I think is still simplistic and a pretty clean look, but it gives it some interest and you can delineate where the months are and it makes it just more interesting in the context of a temperature blanket. The issue with that is I'm not great at Tunisian crochet in general, and my edges, especially on the Tunisian full stitch and knit stitch sections, are very wonky. This is not giftable in my opinion. I'm not proud of the edges and I wouldn't give it like that. So I have bought, which I should have brought down to show you, but I didn't, quilt binding that I'm going to sew onto here. And I do also have plans to embroider a little bit, nothing fancy, literally just on the tape itself, the date at both ends. This end is their wedding day. The other end, if it ever materializes, will be their first anniversary. It will materialize. Their wedding day is September 4th, and I am currently working on July 31st. So I'm close. I only have a month and 5 days left, but I need to get that all done in 6 days because I want this to be blocking when we go out of town next weekend, and I would like to leave it spread out and undisturbed by my pets for the whole weekend to dry out and soften and block, get it done. And then once it's blocked and all spread and all the stitches have opened up and everything, then after that I'll be able to sew on the binding and with whatever embroidery that needs to get done. So this is absolutely a labor of love. It is truly, I'm very proud of it. I feel like I've spent so much time so up close to it that I'm not really seeing it. It's just like go, go, go. But then every once in a while when I actually like step back and look at the item, I'm very proud of it. And I think once I have the binding on and you can't see the horrible messy edges, I'm really gonna love it. Something I did this year that was a little different than last year was last year I started getting anxious about Christmas Day approaching and the list of things I wanted to get done. And so to cope with that, I just kept casting on more of them. I just had a million little whips going because some irrational part of me was like, well, if they're on the needles, they're mostly done, right? I'm almost there. And that's not how it worked. And I ended up not finishing a whole bunch of stuff. So this year I have been forcing myself to focus my energy. And I only have the large whips going. Obviously I made all of these smaller things, but most of these I made earlier in the season or because I had like work training or a road trip or somewhere where I had a lot of time to work on something, but I needed something smaller. Right now, the focus is on the 4 big things, and then I have a few ideas that I'm kicking around if and when I actually get that far. I just remembered that I made notes for myself so that I could not have to remember all the information that I already forgot. That's funny. This is my in-progress Uno sweater for a close friend that we are going to visit next weekend. The visit that I want to use to block the blanket on, we're going to be visiting the person that I'm gifting this to. So this also has to be done in 6 days. Perfectly reasonable, right? It's meant to be an oversized sweater. Obviously it's not blocked yet. I'm not done knitting it yet. The texture is great. I love it. Some of the stitches have rode out a little in some spots. It's not super even, but I think blocking will smooth it over quite a bit. The neckline is incredibly stretchy and squishy, and I'm really, really loving how this comes out to the point where I'm probably gonna make one for myself shortly after Christmas. I am partly down one sleeve, but I've done everything else. Like I've done the hem woven in the ends, I've done the neckline woven in the ends, so all I have to do is the 2 sleeves, which I did this in like a day and a half. It's not impossible, it's just sleep depriving. So this is made out of this wool from an undisclosed seller at Rhinebeck, not for any particular reason other than after I bought it, it wasn't on I didn't get a receipt. It wasn't written on the yarn label. I couldn't find any information about this seller online, so I genuinely don't know who they are. It was misleadingly labeled as DK weight, which is what is called for in this pattern, and I intended to do it just out of the wool. However, when I got home, I realized that all of the labels said DK weight, 440 yards, 100 grams, which is not DK weight, it's fingering weight, and it would not have met gauge for this sweater. So I went on Hobie and I bought a bunch of Super Kid silk to pair with it. And honestly, I think the texture is much improved for it. This is way softer than the wool is on its own. Even though if I'd known, I probably would have just bought double wool and held it double. I think this is for the best. It worked out much better. Hopefully this will be done in less than a week. People that are following along with my Vlogmas will have already recognized the blanket and the Uno sweater because I've been going on about those for a full week already. And they will also have had a few glimpses of the Snowfall sweater scarf. This is a pattern by Knititude. And this is not the kind of thing that I like to knit because it is essentially just an incredibly long scarf that you sew the ends into sleeves because it makes a cool garment in the end. But it's really, 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 really boring. It's just, I'm not quite halfway through. And then this bit at the end that is ribbed will be seamed up. It'll be a nice stretchy little sleeve at the end. I would not have chosen this just because I don't enjoy this style of knitting flat forever and ever and ever. But also, I wouldn't have thought to make this for my mom, but she sent me a reel from Knititude, like one of the little ads that she makes just to show off her patterns. My mom somehow came across that and sent it to me. So I felt like I had to. I think she'll like it since she requested it. The wool is also from Rhinebeck. It's an undyed sport weight that I'm holding double to make gauge for this. It's making it really squishy. I think it's going to be such a lovely finished object, but it is not high priority, especially because this one has proven to be the easiest one to take with me on the go. So every time I'm in the car for a period of time or going out to eat or somewhere where I can take my knitting with me, this one ends up getting done. Like, I haven't actually devoted at home time to this for like over a month, but it's progressing pretty quickly. Then I have one more project that even you who have been watching my Vlogmas all along will not recognize. Maybe. Actually, you might. I have no idea when I'm releasing this video, and you might have met this already. I am making the Cambridge jacket. I love this item. I think that this is perfect for my husband. I think he'll really enjoy it. Because I'm a kind and warm person and a loving, attentive wife, I know that my husband, above all else, would prefer a black sweater. So I am making a huge sacrifice this holiday season, and I am knitting a black sweater. It's not entirely black. It's actually a really pretty tonal that is like mostly black with these intermittent splashes of like a very deep army green. I'm sure it won't show up in this light. This light in here isn't great. Actually, the light in the world isn't great right now. It's December. The light goes away before you can blink your eye. This is the back panel, which is entirely done. This is wool from Briar Rose Fibers, also from Rhinebeck. It came in these enormous hanks. It only took 3 hanks of this worsted weight. So I think it's like 8 ounces. So I only had to buy 3 of these honkin' hanks of yarn and wound them up to make this. This is another one that weirdly, both of the things that gave me this issue were things that yarns that I bought specifically to knit things for my husband for Christmas. And I've really never had this problem before, but this is also not dye fast. It kind of comes off on my fingers when I'm knitting for a long time. Again, it's not causing problems. It's not like rubbing off on my skin like that, but over time as you knit, some dye does accumulate on your fingertips. So that makes this one really hard to knit on the go. And also I don't want him to see it. So that makes it hard to knit at all. I've just been working on it when he's not home. So that's why I have the back panel. I have one of the front panels. It is seamed together, obviously, since I have separate panels, and it's a zipper front jacket. So I bought the zipper at Joann's, and then I have very little of the second panel, but I do believe I knit the first front side panel quite quickly. And something that I do love about this one is that it is largely ribbing. So you can see this is the front panel, and more than half of the stitches are this 3x2 rib, which it's under the arms for both the side panels, but it's super stretchy and forgiving. So it ends up being almost like form-fitting with all the ribbing, but I think it's gonna be really flattering. I'm pleased with this. But I can't devote any attention to it until I finish the temperature blanket and the Uno sweater. And then what attention I do devote to it at that time, I'm going to try to do when my husband isn't home. So this is a covert operation and probably impossible. So we'll see what happens. Okay, now let's talk about a couple things that I would like to do if I have any time left over, which who knows at this point. At the end, if I have enough time to do any like accessories or small items, first of all, I forgot when I was planning out my knits that many months ago in like August, I was inspired by Knitting Traditions, and I bought a couple hot water bottles on Amazon so that I could knit covers for them for my mom and my sister for Christmas. I completely forgot because they got shoved in the back of my craft room closet and I haven't looked at them in forever, and didn't remember until I was watching Knitting Traditions podcast last week, already in December. And I thought, oh yeah, that's not gonna happen now. I think it's really unlikely that I'll be able to finish all of this and also 2 hot water bottle covers. In an ideal world, I would also like taking the leftover yarn from the Udo sweater. I think that would make a nice hat or mittens or something small for my mom or sister. I mean, I'm never done. I'm never gonna reach a point where I'm like, cool, that's everything I wanted to make for Christmas. Now I can do whatever. It's absolutely gonna be like, cool, I'm done. Now what can I knit for Christmas? So that is my self-imposed Christmas stress bomb. How are you doing with your holiday knitting? Do you just knit for yourself? Do you knit for others? Do you do both? Are you like me and make a horrible mess of your life for a third of the year? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and maybe subscribe. We'd love to have you back in the new year, working on all sorts of stuff. Always, I say that every video, and it's because I'm always working on all sorts of stuff. You have no idea. There are so many knitting videos buzzing around in my brain that are trying to get made. I'm glad you joined me today. Hit me up in the comments if you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Happy holidays!